Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for the outpour of support that I've had for my first introductory video. It is unimaginable, the love and support that I feel right now, and I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for liking the video. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for sharing the video. It means a lot. This second video is the first part of how I found out I had cancer. So those of you who don't know what's going on, that's just tuning in for the first time, my name is Tiaris. I was diagnosed with breast cancer 9 months pregnant. So we're just gonna get into the story. I remember as a teenager, I felt a lump in my breast. I want to say I was about 16. I was very young. It was eons ago, it felt like. I went to the doctor, got it checked out. They told me, you know what, it's moving, it's a cyst, it's nothing to worry about. Thank you for coming to get it checked out. This is good, this is good. You're aware of your body, this is awesome. But nothing's wrong, you're okay. Don't worry about it. I want to say 5 months into being pregnant. I'm not sure the exact months. I want to say 5 months. 5 months into being pregnant, I noticed that the lump was getting bigger and bigger. I wasn't too concerned because so was my breast. When you're pregnant, your breasts get larger. So I wasn't too concerned. I was just like, okay, whatever, I guess. It was checked out, it's nothing. So it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So to the point where it's just like I couldn't put it off. I couldn't say, you know what, oh, this is okay. No, I needed to get it checked out. I mentioned it to my husband. He's like, yeah, you know what, yeah, this doesn't look right, so we need to go get that checked out. So I go to the doctor's office. My doctor's office, when they operate on a rotation with all of the doctors. So the doctor I visited with that week, she examined me and she's like, hey, is there any questions? I'm like, yes. I noticed that I have a large lump in my breast. I've always had a lump in my breast, and I know that it could be like a cyst or a swollen milk duct, but it's just getting larger and larger. So I just wanted to mention that to you. So it's just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's a swollen milk duct. And I was like, oh, I actually looked that up online. That's what it said. So she was like, yep, don't worry about it. Okay, no problem. She leaves. She just kind of brushed the situation off. No examination, no nothing. Left. Okay. Long story short, maybe about a month later, the lump was getting massive, I want to say at this point. Not like, I want to say like this. It was big. You can actually see it, like, not, it just kind of bulged out. So my husband's like, no, something doesn't seem right. He's like, Tiaris, this doesn't sit right with me. We need to mention this again to the doctor. So honestly, at that point, because the lump got so large, I knew that something wasn't right. Like, it wasn't a swollen milk duct. How does the doctor know? She never even examined me. So when we went for my visit, we mentioned it again. So this is another doctor. So she's like, yeah, that it could be a swollen milk duct, but let me just take a look at it. So she examines it and she's like, it could be a swollen milk duct, but in cases like this, we want to be sure. So we should do an ultrasound. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Let's do the ultrasound. That was an experience in itself. When my husband drove me, when we got to Islip, we found out that it was a women's facility, so he couldn't go in with me. So I was just like completely alone. I didn't have anyone else with me. Like, I didn't know to bring a woman with me, just to have some comfort, or just, because that situation is scary. It was very scary, to go there, and hospitals are cold, so I was like cold and alone. So yeah, so I get in the room, the sonogram technician comes in, and she examines my breast, and she goes, yes, I see the lump that you're talking about. She's like, what we want to do is go ahead and do a biopsy. She's like, you don't need to be on any anesthesia or anything like that. What we'll do is put some local anesthetic, inject it into your breast, into the site where we will have to go in for the biopsy. So she's like, you're 9 months pregnant. I don't want you to have to come back for anything. So I agreed. I'm like, yes, I don't want to come back for anything. So with that said, she did the biopsy. So what it is that they numbed the area, then she injected a large needle into my breast to take out some of the tissue. Then I had to do a mammogram. So this experience was a bit of a process. I had to do like 2 mammograms, the biopsy, and another sonogram. It was a process. I think I was there for like 4 or 5 hours, and things were just moving. Like, it wasn't even like I was just sitting around. It was just like they were doing so much. So the doctors were very positive. They were very upbeat. They was like, what, don't worry about it. A lot of people get like cysts, and with your hormones, your body is changing. It's probably nothing to worry about, but we want to be sure. So I was like, okay, no problem. So I leave. Maybe a week later, she calls me. She's upbeat. She's like, you know what? Hey, just checking on you and the baby. She was like, we're still waiting on the results. I don't want you to worry. Just live your life. So it's like, okay, no problem. Like, that's what I'm doing. Like, I wasn't worried, because honestly, the vibe that I was getting, I was just like, they're like upbeat. It's not like, oh, like what's coming. It's kind of like, you're good, but let's double check. So let's say a week later, I get a call. I remember it being a Wednesday, only because my job, they threw me a baby shower. So we had cake, and it was really nice. I remember that day, but I remember it for the reasons that I'm gonna go over now. But I remember it being a Wednesday. So I'm at work, and I see Northwell calling. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me see what they want. Oh, this may be like them telling me, you know what, I'm good. Like, don't worry about it. You're okay. So I pick up the phone, and the same doctor, she's not so upbeat. She's just like, can I talk to Tiara's doctor? Or no, she said the doctor's name, and I'm like, oh, this is Tiara's. And I'm like, is everything okay? So she's like, oh, I had the wrong number. And I was like, okay, well, is everything okay? Like, what was the biopsy like? Am I good? Like, what's going on? So she was like, yes, your doctor will give you a call. So she wasn't like too happy, I want to say. Like, the vibe that I was getting was like really dry and like sad. So I'm just like, okay. So I just sat there for a minute, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on? So I called my husband. So he's like, okay, why don't you just call them? So I'm like, okay, you know what, that's not a bad idea. So I called the doctor's office, and I said, I missed the call. Did anyone call me? Because I knew that I waited a little bit because I knew the doctor had called. They're like, no, I don't remember anyone calling. So I'm like, are you sure? Do you want to check with the doctor? So the nurse, she puts me on hold. She puts us on hold for maybe, because me and my husband, we were on the phone. We were on a 3-way. So she puts me on hold for about 10 minutes. Then she comes back, and she asks, she's like, can you and your husband come into the office at 6? So I'm like, no, we can't come into the office at 6. I'm like, can you tell me what's going on, like, over the phone? And she was like, well, you would need to come into the office. Your husband doesn't need to come. If you can only come, that's fine. So my husband's like, you know what, I'm gonna come get you. Let's go to the office. At that point, I just knew that something wasn't right. I knew it. I felt it. My body felt like so weak. I wanted to crawl under the desk and cry. So I just went into an empty training room, and I just started like bawling, crying. Like, I couldn't control myself. because I felt so terrible. Like, here I am, 9 months pregnant, about to give birth to my son. You know, someone, you know, like a child that's innocent. You know, we awaited him with so much joy and patience, and here I am. Something's going on. You know, at that point, I didn't know what the situation was. I had a feeling though. I was just like, yo, this is not my life. This can't be it. So, my husband comes to pick me up. The whole time in the car, I just felt like I was gonna vomit. Like, I felt so paralyzed. When we went to the doctor's office, when we walked in, everyone, all the nurses and stuff, I go by vibes, if you can tell. Like, all the nurses weren't so like happy, like, oh, happy to see you. You know, they were just like, you know, like, it seems like they seemed sad to me. So I'm just like, okay, this is not good. So I was just like, okay, I was telling myself, like, I'm not gonna cry. I kind of just, you know, I did all my crying at work. I'm just gonna prepare myself for the worst. Like, I'm expected to hear the absolute worst. So the doctor calls us back down in her office, and she said, you know, Tiaris, we got the test results back of your biopsy. Unfortunately, you do have cancer. It is cancer. So I just felt like so numb. Like, what? I felt numb because in my head I'm just thinking, like, what? Like, okay, so what now? You know, that's what I'm thinking at the time. So I also had other questions, like, okay, what is the stage? Like, what kind of cancer it is? You know, she did tell me that it was just, you know, carcinoma, you know, breast cancer, carcinoma. She wasn't able to tell me a stage. She said that, you know, I would have to go to a specialist to find out all of that information, like what stage it is, you know, like what exactly is going on. So with that said, she did say, you know, she said, you need to get surgery. We need to do surgery, and you need to be induced so that we can start your treatment. So I'm like, okay. She's like, you know, the hospital is actually going to give you a call to give you the date to be induced. So, you know, we are going to induce you this weekend. So expect that. So we left. I was just so emotional. Like, I couldn't stop crying. Like, when I got home and it really sunk in, like, I may not be here with my son Logan or my husband. It was just insane to me. Like, why is this happening right now? You know? You know, here we are welcoming our first child together, and this is happening. Like, I have breast cancer. I just felt numb and just so heartbroken, you know, to know that I'm bringing a child into the world and my life isn't for certain. You know, like, my child's gonna grow up and not know me, and my husband have to raise a child on his own. Like, that just really sucked. Like, it really, really hurt to even think about it. So for that week, you know, was really, 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 really extremely hard. I'm not even gonna lie, like, I just felt so over it. Like, dang, this is crazy. When I got home and I told the rest of my family, well, my aunt told me, she said, you know, once your mind goes, so does your body. So speak positivity into your life, speak positivity into your body. You know, you're gonna be okay. Say that and speak it into existence. And so, you know, that's what I did. I just went into full survival mode. I knew that I needed to survive this because I wanted to see my son. I want to roll with my husband. And, you know, life is just amazing. It's great. Like, you know, I didn't want to not live my life with my family. You know, so that's my family, my friends, you know, just like I couldn't imagine going out of this world like that. So this is the first part of my cancer diagnosis. And the second part, I will go more into detail as far as like what the stage of my cancer was and what steps I had to take in order to get my cancer under control. So far, I've done chemotherapy, and I will do a separate video on like what my experience was with that. Next, I have radiation to do. I'll also do a separate video for that, but that's something that I would need to do. My cancer isn't in remission yet. I'm not exactly done with my treatment. So I do have more videos to come in reference to that. But again, the next video will go more into detail on like the stage and, you know, what were the next steps from there after my delivery for my son. Also that experience. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.